Thank you all for tuning in. I'm Selena, and this is You Plus Happy. Each week, I bring you someone who challenges us to define success and happiness on our own terms with a dose of laughter. Remember to like and subscribe to the You Plus Happy podcast. You can also follow us on Instagram at You Plus Happy. This week, we have Rwandan-American independent documentary filmmaker Adelin Gasana, who fell in love with the genre halfway through high school and began producing documentaries since his freshman year in college. For the past decade, his professional experience in the film industry afforded him the talent and ability to work in all aspects of production, from concept to completion, directing, writing, researching, archiving, logging, producing, shooting, editing, and marketing. He probably even does more than that. The documentary film topics he has produced include the Cuban diaspora of Miami, Black megachurches, feminism, existentialism, high heels, and how history is taught. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
It's very interesting. I usually don't start off like this, but I produce too, and so when I'm reading this, I don't produce in the capacity that you do, but you do wear a lot of hats and you talk to a lot of people and you're orchestrating so much. So this makes perfect sense to me. So how did you get started?
Well, and to even add to that, it's also when you work at this independent level or not, we're not all walking on with six-figure budgets off the gate or whatnot.
Right.
So you tend to have to work multiple different tasks just to get the project completed.
Yeah.
So how did I get started? Guess my freshman year in college, out of my dorm room. Like, it was just, I knew since 16 years old, I wanted to do documentaries. It was like a Damascus moment, you know? Me and a friend, just to kind of quickly jump in that, me and a friend was wanted to go watch a movie. Actually, we were just hanging out, and he was chasing a girl.
Mm-hmm.
And so we snuck into the back of a theater, and it was in the movie of Tupac Resurrection. It's documented by his life, Tupac Shakur, and it's still one of my favorite documentary films.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember we were 5 minutes in the movie, and my eyeballs never left the screen.
Wow.
It captivated me, and it just took me to another place. And I remember walking out with my friend one night, and I just remember in the back of my mind, I was like, I don't know what I just saw, I don't know what that was, but I want to do that, whatever capacity that means. And there it was. And ever since that moment, I went straight into the documentary.
Yeah. What was it about it that captivated you?
I think it was just everything. I think documentaries represent rebellious nature. It represents the bona fide, the didactic, educational. It's activist driven. It's raising awareness. It just has all these layered nuances, and it's so creative. Like, it's one of the, I still really strongly believe it's still a genre, just like any other film genre out there. But it just has so much different navigations and so many pathways you could do, and it's just a beautiful expression of art, in my opinion. And I'm just the voyeur at this point. I'm just the viewer. I'm not even in the hands-on aspect of it, and it just makes all the more sense. And I'm an information junkie, which I learned out later. Archive junkie. I'm just an artifacts junkie. There's never enough for me when it comes to material. I thought documentary is the perfect place.
Right.
To park it on.
What makes a documentary bad?
When it's rushed, when it's severely biased. So one of my strongest criticism is documentaries that, and I'm seeing a lot of this, particularly on Netflix and Amazon, is the Taylor Swift documentaries, the Little Baby did his documentary on Amazon. When you already have those guys, Mary J. Blige documentary on Lifetime, and no knock to any of these artists.
Right.
It's whenever they're producers, they sanitize the story. So it becomes a whole nother direction than if you gave me the keys and you get out the way and let me tell your story. Right? I think that outside perspective adds to a total dimension. So those are my parameters. And it's funny, I'm a documentary junkie, to the core. And nowadays, when I watch a documentary, particularly a biographical piece, I'm always telling myself, what are they gonna leave out? In the back of my mind. Right. I just start from there, and then the less they leave out, the more powerful and grandiose the documentary tends to be. Yeah. That's just on the biographical side.
Right.
Then there's the political documentaries and whatnot. I just think you can tell documentaries are rushed. They're not coming from a journalistic point of view of gathering all thoughts, keeping it balanced, really educating your viewer about what they're seeing in front of the screen.
Yeah.
That's a duty at the end of the day.
I like that. It's a duty, and it's not something that should just be thrown together. But the ones with celebrities, I feel like, I don't know a lot about documentaries, but I'm thinking to myself, those people have certain images to uphold, right? So they can't go as raw or as real as you would want, because it's a lot of people depending on them.
Yeah, but Taylor Swift is 32, 33 years old. Her story's not even done. You doing a documentary all of a sudden, so I agree with you.
It's also a grab too.
Yeah, it's a media grab.
Yeah,
it's part of the curated social media world that we live in, where you have to keep adding content. It's just another content creation or not, and it just keeps them buzzing in different platforms. And no knock from the business point of view and things, but to me, I look at it more as PR campaign more than documentary. And I'm just at that point where I can differentiate that, in the sense of who's really coming for an authentic story, with all the various themes that come with it,
Yeah, I feel like those are buried. Am I right?
Not entirely. Like, for example, my last documentary, my last big documentary was called Bow Legs. Marvin Hamilton's senior in Atlanta story. We went on the festival circuit, went to about 10 different film festivals, and we made it into Delta Airlines in-flight entertainment for a 6-month run last year. And it was just that. It was a biographical piece of an Atlanta legend. Now, when you come to Atlanta, everybody knows Maynard Jackson, Andrew Young. He says, who is this guy here? Who's Marvin Hamilton Senior? So then that starts the documentary. It's like, that's the question. And so a fan member of mine reached out to me, and I said, okay, I'm going to do it, but get out of my way.
Yes.
And he gave me the green light, gave me full creative control, and I told this guy's story, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And it's just being able to authentically just lay everything out, get at the nuance. Really, documentary is just going to the grave. It's less black and white, is less headlining. It's because that's really where mainstream news media is, where they need to just kiss the punchy headline and move on to the next segment. Documentary does a little more of that kind of homework,
Yeah, and I like that too, because if it's I'm speaking from limited knowledge about documentaries, but
now you're gonna get into it.
Yes, and the biographical ones. It's also, if you're telling a true story, no one's true story is all good, right? So I like that you're like, it's the good, bad, and the ugly, because that's the truth. Everyone's life has the good, bad, and the ugly. And it's like, why are you doing this documentary? You hiding the bad, like you just like you said, sanitizing it and making it like this perfect story, it's fairy tale. It's like or you're struggling with something stupid, like I'm messy. Like I feel like the celebrity ones always say, I'm messy, like these silly uglies that they're not.
And so, just to kind of go rewind back to your earlier question, so how did I get started? I just knew I wanted to do documentaries, so I went to college knowing that I wanted to get into a TV film track or not, so I went to school for that. And I remember my freshman year, like second semester of my freshman year, I'm still my English teacher, and then he said, so Adeline, what you want to do? Just talking after class, he said, I want to do a documentary. And he said, okay, so what are you working on? And then I looked at him and said, what am I working on? I said, I'm here to learn the craft, and then I'm going to be a documentary filmmaker afterward. And he said, but now's the time. You're a student. There's no better way to learn than now.
Do it.
And so it was like a light bulb. And then the beautiful thing about being a student filmmaker, you get to mess up. You get to mess up everything and know, he's just a student filmmaker. Now when you get to one step after that, now you're gonna you have critics. How'd you miss that? How'd you do this? What happened to lighting here? What happened to a jump cut in the edit? Like little things like that. Now you're being critiqued on. But student filmmaker, you get to play with that, and it just I just took it. I did over 20 different film and video projects on my campus outside of my classroom work. So none of it was my classroom work, and so I was already building a portfolio as early as my freshman year.
And making documentaries also does it take, like you said, like you're an information junkie, so a lot of research, because like I know a little bit about like production on the acting side or like with the podcast, but the documentary sounds like it's not only really about the production. You gotta do all the research, find the people, find the history, and so it has a whole nother component, another layer, and it's not somebody's
bread and butter. No, yeah.
And it's not somebody's creativity necessarily in the sense of like, oh, we write a script and then we hire actors and all this. This is like and then you have to be a good interviewer, right?
Yeah.
To get the story out of the person.
Yes.
Okay, wait, how do you?
And man, oh man, I talk to a lot of people ain't camera friendly, so you
I
got
know.
as you know in your trade. That is, it's just that. Believe it or not, my favorite part of the document is the research aspect.
Okay.
You know, and I think of myself as creative as the next person, right? But I also edit, direct, and everything. But really, the research aspect is because knowing time, you take a documentary subject line, you start broad, as broad as you can get. You know, say you're doing a documentary, killer whales extinction, or ocean acidification in the world. You want to go as expansive. You want to tell, you want a bird's eye view of the entire topic.
Okay.
And then as you're fleshing it out and you're refining it, then you start nibbling away at what's the thesis. Because a documentary storyline needs to be very clear and very to the point. So you take this out, but you still need that research material, because the one thing you want to do, again, go back to doing the homework and doing this right, is you never want to leave out anything. And that's why it's very, very important. Some research phases in documentaries will take several months, and sometimes they go a year, 2 years long.
Yeah. Because
you excavating, you're part of the dig. Going back to my documentary Bowlegs, when the Marvin Arrington Jr., his son, came to me and said, I want to do a documentary with my dad. And I told him, I get pitches all the time. People DM me, calling me. I had one told me a LinkedIn message one night, just, Adeline, you should do this document. Adeline, you should do this document. So the one thing I always try to do is I like to bring them down from cloud nine to down to earth. So he comes up to me and says, I want to do a documentary with my dad, but I was like, I don't know, because I'm skeptical. I never heard of him. Am I going to get much out of it? And then I did my preliminary research and I realized you got to cover 4 decades of this guy's story.
Wow.
And so I said, look, let's do this. Hire me for you, be your archival researcher for 2 weeks, and let's see what we can find. And I told him, if I can find something good, then we can come back to the table and talk more. And then I did all the ground research. I went to the Atlanta History Center. I went to the AUC Center. He was a Clark College alumni. I went there. Emory University, integrated Emory University. I went to his manuscripts there with the Rose Library, pulled out his letters. I went to the Brown Media Archives in the University of Georgia, where they have all the WSB archives. And then after 2 weeks, I was blown away.
Wow.
My mouth almost hit the floor. I said there was more stuff than him, the main agenda. So I go back to him and said, you got yourself a documentary. And I think for so many people, that's overwhelming. You know, most documentaries, you know, my features, it's 200 hours of content.
Okay.
Interviews, logging, B-roll, archive. You got to narrow it down to an hour and a half, 2 hours, and make it make sense. Make it flow.
Right.
Grab the viewer.
This cohesive thing that we need to make. Yeah.
That concision, and not everyone doesn't have that. And so for me, it was like you have to be in that brain part. Now, I'm not saying every documentarian needs to go in that direction.
Right.
I think documentary is such a creative work of art. You can come in all different directions. I know there's documentarians who are just straight great DPs, great photographers, great cinematographers. They come at it from a bigger lens in the sense of drones and camera work, so you can come at it different angles, but for me, I'm on the research ground up.
Right. Oh, and for the interviews, so when you get someone who is tricky, or you're like, I'm not getting what I need, like, what do you do? What are your tips?
The first and foremost thing, whenever I reach out to an interviewee, I always like to do a sit down with them.
Okay.
No cameras, nothing involved. Just sit down, let's have a cup of coffee, and then I want to give you everything from A to Z about what I'm trying to do, what this is about, how you can come in on it. And I want them to freely ask all kinds of questions. So you build a rapport. I mean, this is short of someone I haven't met or anything or have a relationship with. It's to build a rapport. I think once you connect, your interviewee connects with you at that level, then they come at it, oh, he's being honest, he's a good guy, he's somebody I can work with. Then you get into the moment of the camera stage. I like to treat it as all conversational. So even if they ask me for questions, I may email them a tidbit questions, and for me, I may come with a piece of paper with beat points. But to me, it's just I want to have a conversation.
Is there anybody that you've been like, oh, I can't interview this person, they're not gonna work?
Yes, there are people who are jittery. There are people who on camera there's a lot of ums, ahs. But one thing I realize is that once you have a conversation with them in person, an interesting thing happens. The camera goes away.
Okay.
They no longer look at the camera. Even if there's people behind us that we are so deeply into this topic.
Yeah.
When you get someone who's very passionate, like an expert, a lot of times, a lot of professors, for example, who are very erudite, very versed in certain subject matters, may not be good on camera. They don't know how to, they flub and flip and that. If you get them, I start with like light talk and tell me about your background and this, and when you start going in, and then we start pivoting into the real stuff. So it may take maybe a good 15, 20 minutes to segue into it. So I think it's just getting them comfortable, letting them know I'm here for you the whole time. They're looking directly at me. There's no beating around the bush on that. And then suddenly we just fall into this conversation. And then I walk out and say, yeah, you've done this before. And he said, yeah.
It's so funny. I just had an epiphany while you were talking. You're obsessed with the research, right? That's right. Is that fair to say?
Oh, absolutely.
I just realized I'm obsessed with humans, like finding my end and talking to people, which should be obvious because that's why I have a podcast. Anyway, that's a side note. I just wanted to share my epiphany.
No, but it's good though. It's good that you can find what your plug is, your knack, and say, let me curate that. Because I think so often times when people start talking, I know we're gonna get deeper into it with the idea of success and happiness. Is I think we always try to fit some other's expectation of what we should be. If you hone in on yourself and just be real with yourself and be calm and just be centered, sometimes it may take a couple of years for it to get out. But you're like, you know what, I like this and I'm good at this. And I even tell myself, I'm not good at a lot of things. But when it coms to this kind of thing, this is what I was made for.
This is it. I think with that, with you saying that, I think this cliche of follow your heart, right? I really think that is good advice, because even if something's calling you, go towards it and you'll find whatever you are supposed to do on the way. Because something else was calling me and I don't want to do that, but I found this on the way.
Yes.
And I'm obsessed and I love it, and I feel like it also gives me purpose, and it makes me feel like it gives me confidence, and it helps my self-image, all those things. And I think your purpose does that.
Yeah.
It's like you need it and it needs you, and like it's a I don't know, not a relationship, but it's a thing that's bigger than you are. And it brings out, it makes you better. It just makes you a better human in the world. But that follow your heart, it sounds so damn cliche, and you might go towards the thing and you're like, I don't even like this, what's going on? But I promise you will find your thing along the way. So like with the documentaries, I would admit like that it called you, but then you found even deeper than that. The research part is the part that's your area that's like you love.
Yeah, I think in all aspects of documentary that I ventured into, there's every aspect. I mean, even this times I've even worked on as an editor for documentaries, and again, that's information junkie too, because you work on hours and hours of footage, and it's just that it's just so clear, just so lucid. I remember Lauryn Hill one time had a saying that says, to love God, to glorify God, is to live your purpose. Because you're molded, birthed into this world and whatnot, and live your life. Like if you not find your destiny, you're going against what God brought you in for. So glorifying, living your authentic self, I think it should be everyone's calling. Now, there's other people who come and say, Adeline, man, you knew at 16 years old you want to do documentaries, but not everybody has that itch, that scratch.
Right.
It may come later.
Yeah.
It may come in your 30s, it may come in your 40s.
Yeah.
And then going back to a little bit about finding your authentic self, I think so much of life is to learn what to do, but also learn what not to do. So I think you need to go down these unbeaten paths.
Yeah.
Because then what happens to you, then you're like, you know what, that's not for me.
Right.
You tried it, worked it, like I love tea. I love every form of loose leaf teas, green teas, especially green teas, all kinds of green teas. The one tea I cannot do is oolong tea. Okay. I tried it. I tried all forms, ice, bubble, everything. Okay. It just doesn't do it for me. And I said, that's not for me. Right. And I can walk away. That's all this is. This is about taste. This is about style. What is your call?
And you give it and to your point, I love fitness. I'm obsessed with fitness. I'm obsessed with health. And I think kind of our society is like, oh, you love something, that's what you should do for a living. And so I went and got my certification, and I did not like it. Like I did not like teaching other people how to do it. but I'm obsessed. I can read about health every day, like different, even when it comes to like natural medicine and vitamins and healing, and then and working out. I'm obsessed with working out, like the muscles and the body, all that stuff. But when it came down to, and I even liked learning it. When I did the certification, I loved reading about it and learning. But as soon as I was like teaching somebody else, I was like, I want to get out of here as soon as possible.
Interesting.
So
what is it? So was it the very fact that for you fitness is more like a self-referential kind of thing?
It's yes.
And less of.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. It is. It feeds. It's like my church almost, like in a sense. Like I do have my real spiritual practices, but working out and learning about that stuff is like it's a bigger thing. It's not. It has some vanity to it for sure, but it's more about I want to be healthy and have
your
the
best self,
best life I can. And I think you have to have your. You don't have to, because I know people that are they go through health issues and they still find a way to live their life in a way that works for them. But I think if I have my faculties and I can move around as I get older and I can do all that is, I want to live my life to the fullest. And in my mind, keeping myself healthy is the way to do that, so I can show up for myself and show up for my life. But as soon as I wanted to go it wasn't even about monetizing. It felt like it was just my sacred thing. And now I'm sharing it with these people. And I'm like, this is my thing. And that's, but it's okay. It's like you said, you learn what not to do. And I learned that wasn't
your calling.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm glad I tried it, because I had thought about it for like 7 or 8 years, because I was so obsessed with fitness. But I think that's the scary part of our culture, that you have to monetize everything you like. That's scary.
It is.
You don't have to monetize everything you like. Yes, we have to make money, but everything, something in your life can just be for pleasure.
Yeah, I agree with that. And then I think that also, and a lot of young people are catching this on, is like, what happens is that we feel like we need to monetize in every domain of our life.
Right.
And it's almost like, you can't build relationships that way.
Yeah.
If you want anything outstanding, friendships, relationships, like, you can't look at somebody as your potential client or potential customer or consumer.
Yes.
It's just, and I hope, and I don't know how direction our society is going, but I just wish that we weren't so focused in on that. You know, in the sense of monetizing, capitalizing, how to turn profit out of, it's just a wrong approach to society.
I couldn't agree more, and I'm starting to study capitalism more, because to me it's gone in this direction. This is just my opinion. It's gone in a way that's egregious and nasty, and like it's turning humans not into human.
Right.
We're losing that part, because but we're almost set up for it, because everything's expensive. We want nice things, and
we're caught up in the rat race,
and we gotta pay these bills. Like I ain't saying it ain't real, but I also it's turning. Everything has a pros and cons, and it can get ugly. Right. And I think and maybe I'm being too pessimistic about it, but it feels like it's going in a very ugly direction. No, I mean, it's scary.
It's not hard not to say that, and not to get too much off this topic we're talking about, but I think what I also see even much more pessimistic than that is that we can't imagine another world.
I know.
And I'm not even so much talking about utopias. I'm not, talking about heaven and earth, but can we imagine how we could do life a little bit better?
Yeah.
Instead of constant growth, constant consumption, and consumerism, like we are better.
This is what it is. I'm scared that we're losing humanity, and because everybody's just laser focused on what they got to do, which is fair, because we're in survival mode. Yeah. But it's like that's scaring me, the humanity part.
It's funny, because I was on the farm. I was doing a farm shoot, and I was talking to this farmer. We were talking about, like, what is this being a farmer? And he literally almost got me inspired. I was like, man, I'm gonna go shop for a farm. He said something interesting. He said, when you work as a farmer, everything slows down. You no longer are on this constant quest. You're present. The way you feed your crops, the way you feed your chickens, the way you feed your thing, it's a daily process. It's not a grind. It's not a wake up, you do all these things where you're just we're in this urban society. We're constantly schedule this and back in traffic and go home and just shut down. But being in openness and just being one with nature, it just slows down. And I think that aspect of humanity, I think, needs to be recalibrated, because we need to be present. I think we're too all over the place.
Yeah, no, I could not agree more. And there's also like because I love what you just said, so I'm processing it. But it's even to the point where I feel like if people are like, what are you working on? And it's almost embarrassing if you don't have a lot going on. Right. Like, people want to be around go-getters and movers and shakers, and for me, I love being around creative people and all that. And I've even been guilty of it. If I talk to somebody that ain't got nothing going on, I'm like, but and then I'm saying, oh, we shouldn't have too much going on. It's like
it should be a balance, and I think that too. I think social media has a lot to do with that. I think there's a thing called status anxiety.
Oh.
We have to always kind of post it on the next plane ride or the next project you complete, or the next runway, or it's always this constant grind for the next thing. But it's weird though, because I mean, is this how we should like? Happiness is supposed to be a journey, not the destination.
Right.
We can't just reach our destination and say, okay, all right, celebrate one day, pop champagne and everything. Now, next, back to the grind. I mean, when are we ever gonna arrive?
Right.
We have to be present. We have to arrive.
I've been thinking a lot about the word practice, because I do a lot of these self-help readings and podcasts and all this, and talk to people who inspire me all the time. And I'm like, and it's like, okay, I'll read a book and I feel all excited. And I'm like, oh, I can approach my life differently. And then a couple months later, you forgot about the book. You ain't practicing none of the stuff in the book. And it's just, so I was like, things have to be a practice. That's how I'm starting to think about. So happiness is like, that's a fleeting emotion, but it's a practice. The things that you do, your actions every day, and staying in, like what you said, being present, but staying constantly asking myself, where am I right now? Where am I right now? Like, where's my mind right now? What am I focusing on? What am I thinking about? How am I treating people? And like, because you can just get kind of swept up. And then it's like things fall to the wayside. All your, not values, but like kind of like your standards for yourself. You get, I know I have got caught up in something, and then they kind of just wash away. So it's like constantly checking in, that practice of like checking in and staying in tune.
The mental aspect of it.
Yeah.
It's interesting because here we are talking about information junkie when it comes to documentaries. I think that's part of our challenge in the world today, especially with the internet. There's so much information coming at us to the nanosecond. We're constantly in front of a screen, we're constantly swiping, we're constantly watching something, and it's always kind of feeding it, and it just takes our emotion, our emotional capacity to our mental capacity, and just sways us back and forth, and we're never grounded. And so much of that is kind of either turn things off or put a timer on things, but we have to really just know how to curate information, not let so much of that absorb us, because if we constantly are doing that, it's just, we're gonna be all over the place. We'll be bouncing on walls.
Listen to me. You have to protect yourself. You have to protect your emotions, and that's why I'm talking about these check-ins with yourself, because if you don't know, if you turn on the internet or the social media, you don't know what's about to come at you, and if you don't know what space you're in, and you just let anything dump into you, that's not. You're going to be a mess. You're going to be a mess. And I know people who like let the news just ruin their day. And I read the seven habits of the highly effective people a long time ago, and one thing that stuck with me was, do not focus on things you have no control over. Do not. It is a waste of your time, a waste of your energy, and you can be using that space for something else that's more productive for you. So I think that's so important to like check in where you are, and like, I don't want to sound like I have things figured out, but I know for a fact that you need to do check-ins before you just let open up something and it dumps on you and you don't know what you're about to get. Like, no.
They said, by the way, the self-care, they said 21-day habit. You stick with something for 21 days straight.
Okay.
You'll stick with it. So I'm trying to get like people, hey, come and work out 21 days.
Okay.
And I walk away.
You work out?
I work out regularly.
Okay. Yeah, me too.
Four times a week. I do calisthenics.
Okay.
No weights. I want to be thin and like calisthenics, push-ups, pull-ups.
I want to do.
And cardio, of course, a lot of cardio.
I just did this woman, she used to do bodybuilding, and I followed her book for this whole year, and I just got done just trying new stuff. But they were like, for women, weights are really, really important, because our bones, I don't know all the details, so Google it yourself. But for women, they say like because osteoporosis, we have a much higher level, and so if we but a lot of women, they said it's a problem, because a lot of women don't want to look bulky, and they think if you lift weights, you're going to be bulky.
No, and then the best thing to do is you can even go at a lighter rate, a lighter weight, but more reps. Right. That way it doesn't, yeah, especially because if you increase, because I know at times where after you work out, I realize, okay, now let me turn up a notch.
Yeah.
And that's what they're afraid. They're afraid. Oh man, you
Yeah.
know, if I go hard for 2 years, I may be doing 600-pound squats. I'm like, calm it down.
You're gonna be okay.
Calm it down.
But there's so many schools of thoughts on working out. But yeah, I do love that. Was there a turning point where you realized you needed to take a different path than what was expected of you?
Nothing, not too much out of that way. I think I say another turning path is when I moved from South Florida. I knew that.
Okay.
I'm now in Georgia, and it's skyrocketing my career.
Really?
I mean, almost two light years ahead of where I ever thought I was going to be. And I think largely is understanding the dynamics of where the industry trends are going, where the momentum is going, and yeah, because I was down in South Florida. Again, no, not to South Florida, but I mean. I didn't know you could get paid like this. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that level, you know?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I guess to that degree, you know, so I think of it, for at least my journey, it's less of, did I make, I never did a career switch. I know there's a lot of people who go off to college and they get degrees and then they don't end up working in a career and they kind of fell into another career path, which they end up liking and loving and stuff. So I never had to make that kind of pivot. But I was looking at trend lines. I was like, okay, where am I going? And even so much, right before I came to Atlanta, I did the New York thing. And I always tell people, if you're ambitious, if you are a go-getter, someone overachiever, not everybody overachievers, but if you're an overachiever, get New York out of you.
Really?
And you just need it. Yes. New York is New York. New York is everything. Like, it's whatever industry you're in, advertising, finance, like filmmaking, right? It's as big as it gets, and I did it. I knew I was gonna say no. You know, that whole face, it just, I knew it was it, but I'm glad that I did the New York thing, because then it's like, I'm really in this for long haul.
How long were you there?
I was there for 9 months.
Okay. And it was just too fast for you.
It just wasn't my cup. I grew up in South Florida. I grew up with, parking lots and, not trains everywhere and just people living on top. It just wasn't my vibe. Now I grew up in Chicago half my childhood, so I'm used to big cities, Miami, Atlanta, Georgia. So big cities don't intimidate me in a way, but just the vibe of New York, and I knew it. I mean, and that's the best thing too, though. When you kind of go into someplace and you're just like, I'm here to get the bread and butter of this, just soak up all that New York can provide. Yeah. And they say, okay, I got enough out of it.
I was gonna ask you about. Are there as many opportunities for in your work in South Florida as there are here?
And that was part another thing too. Yeah, they do a lot of independent productions down there, but nothing like Georgia. At least the time, Georgia, when they opened up tax incentives in 2010 and whatnot, and everybody in that mother came here, like Hollywood production, New York, LA, and even if they do most of the production here, they go back to their places for the post production. It was still a lot of work here. So, and it was just all levels, like broadcast to regular TV. Reality was big at the time when I came, and of course documentary, which spilled over to docuseries. So there was a lot of different productions happening, and really at various levels. Like, I could come in as an editor at one point, and I could come in as an archival researcher at another point. So it just opened up those venues whatnot, where I just think that Miami is a bit smaller film TV market in that regard, and it's just the whole vibe. I don't think it's you're seeing this type of movement of people of all ethnicities kind of gravitating toward what this Atlanta hubris was. But I mean, Atlanta just I fell in love with Atlanta. Like, Atlanta's special to me now.
That's how I feel, but it's still like the honeymoon phase. So I'm like, let me see your true colors in there.
Yes.
You still got your little. It's still the romantic, beginning. So I'm gonna see how it goes. But we're still dating. We're just dating. But I.
And you did some travels too. Like, you were in LA at one point.
I lived in LA for 6 years. Maryland. I lived in Miami for a little while, and I lived in DC. And
what charted those moves? What?
Well, I hated Baltimore. I'm from Baltimore, and no shade to Baltimore. Like, I'm glad I'm from there. It's a you get the kind of street knowledge that like, I understand things from that perspective and an intellectual level. So I think I can go anywhere because I'm from a rougher place.
Got that street smart.
Yeah, so I do appreciate that I can. I'm not soft. Like I can move. Yeah, I can move around. So I'm happy for that. But I know for me, it's not somewhere that will work for me long term. There's not as many opportunities there. The mindsets are a little different. No shade, but there's a lot of crabs in the barrel kind of mentality. Like there's a lot of that going on. So I was trying to find my way. I had a friend who I had lost my job. I was in my early 20s, and she was like, "Just move to Philly with us." And I was like, okay. And so I just went to Philly, and it was life changing. Like it gave me an outside perspective. It showed me like other possibilities, and then I just couldn't stop. I got like addicted because when I moved there, I learned so much about myself. I grew as a person. When you live somewhere else, it gives you another. I had somebody on the show, Reem, go look at her episode, but she was saying it gives you another dimension. And it's so true. And it's like this knowledge, because I'm a bit of a knowledge junkie in a sense. Probably not to the extent that you are, but life experiences, that's how I like to learn. And so when you live in different places, it gives you this knowledge that you just can't get anywhere. These experiences you just can't get. But I knew Philly was gonna end. Like it has for me, I love Philly. Love Philly. It's one of my favorite places I live, but it still has a cap on it. Like to me at the time, I've been gone for a long time now, so it could be different now. And I met a lot of dope people, like creatives, Black creative people. And my dream, and this is what I say about following your dreams. My dream was always to move to LA. And I went, not a dream, a nightmare, horrible. This is not for me. No, but what I learned so much. Like I was there for
what not to do, things like that, right?
Yeah, and like sometimes, I got to see a lot. Like, cause there's no ceiling in LA. Like so, but it was too much for me. It was too much for me. I came from these smaller places. I felt like a big fish in a small pond. I went out there and I was a guppy in the ocean, like the smallest fish ever, and I just wasn't ready.
What got you out there?
I had a remote job, and I just
opportunity presented itself.
Yeah, so I just went out there and by myself. But it was like the loneliest time. I had never experienced loneliness like that. And it taught me, like, I didn't know that I was I had some privileges for being attractive in Baltimore. Yeah, I didn't know. I went to LA, I didn't have any of those privileges because everybody's beautiful. Yeah, I didn't have it. So I was like, wait, I didn't even know I ever had that, but now I lost it. And I was like, what the hell's going on here? And I was like, girl, you better get your mind ready to baby girl. So I had to really cultivate who I was. I've always been like a silly person and outgoing, but I really had to ask myself who I am and who I'm going to be in the world, and really cultivate who I am. And so it taught me that, and I got exposed to really, really successful people who saw real success, real money, and like just got to see that world I would have never seen. I'm not saying that's not in Baltimore. It's just not as common. You go to LA, you live there 6 years, you're going to see some real stuff. Like real money, real success, I'm sure you've probably experienced in New York. Yeah. It's just certain things you can't see in another city.
No,
like, I'm sure you saw stuff in New York, Miami's got a lot going on, but some other places that you like, dang, all this is possible, it's just, and you get accustomed to being around that. And then the last thing I'll say, I learned a lot of different cultures in LA because it's so diverse, where Baltimore and Philly is predominantly Black and white. And so I was like around Black and white people, and that's fine. But I learned, there's so many cultures in LA, like so many.
Asian, African.
Yes, everybody. I learned about different food and different customs, and I got to travel the world just in LA. Like meeting these people, they invited me into their homes. Because the first couple of years were lonely, but then I started meeting people and learning to talk to people from all around the world, and people who have these experiences, they bring so much. So it's just rich,
out of the box kind of thinking.
Yes.
And I'm glad you did that, because especially you did it in your 20s and your 30s, like going outside your comfort zone. I think that's something that's underappreciated. I think that's where growth is. In fact, that's where our journey to happiness is. I think you cannot stay in your lane, stay in your comfort level, and expect growth or expect the kind of successful model or successful life that you can aspire, because you don't know what's out there.
Yeah.
There's so much out there, and just taking those steps out and being open-minded about new experiences, and good and bad, and not being afraid to fail, not being afraid to, mess up or come across something that wasn't yours. I mean, at least you have an experience, you have stories to tell.
Yeah. And it builds your character, and it makes, I think, a richer person and a richer experience in the world. I think it's really, really important. But I think I got addicted. But so now to moving around. So now I just wanted. I'm hoping that this relationship with Atlanta works out, because I wanted to just kind of settle now. Like I've seen.
Gotcha. You at that point, yeah.
I've seen enough.
Yeah. My view on life is that I think life is a tragic comedy.
Okay.
In the sense that oftentimes when you look at our personal lives, it's usually in tragedy that we triumph. When we get to that darkest moments, it takes us to levels that we never even thought was even imaginable. And I think even for storylines, I think in tragedy, it's always these emerging narratives or not. For example, if you take the 4 global music genres: hip hop, jazz, reggae, and salsa. What do all 4 of them have in common? They're all gutter music. Came from the poorest of the poor.
Wow.
Right?
Okay.
Hip hop, 50 years, Bronx, New York.
You said
Reggae,
jazz. Okay.
reggae in Trenchtown, Jamaica's slums. Jazz, the red light district in New Orleans.
Wow.
And salsa from the bars of Cuba. You know what I'm saying? Like the poorest of the poor is able to bring out this expression. So I think that this is the human experience. Like it's when we are in these tragic moments. And again, I'm not promoting tragedy. I'm not wishing for tragedy. But if you reflect on your own life, I think sometimes the darkest moments is when we live. So for example, even in my story and my family, when we were born in Rwanda, and Rwanda had, of course, the genocide in 1994, not perhaps the greatest genocide of the 20th century, and the most memorable one. And it's out of that there's so much other opportunities. And man, would I have even been in this part of the world if that hadn't happened, right? Would I've been able to see the certain things that I've been able to see? So I think so much of tragedy does it grounds us, it curates us, it molds us, and I think we're better for it in many ways with that. So I look at it from the yin and the yang. You can't have one without the other. But again, I'm not promoting or wishing for tragedy. I just think that this is lessons we can learn from tragedy and how important it could be for us in our experience.
Yeah, and not trying to go through life hyper, trying to avoid it.
Right. So many people like that. There's so many people who are afraid of failing. There's some people, even when it comes to relationships, people are afraid to jumping all in or being vulnerable. Like, this is how it is. I mean, love, you gotta go all in. I mean, I'm sad to say that. Take everything up. Right. It's scary for those who are unknown to it. It's scary for those who've been down that road and obviously got heartbroken and went the other way. So I think that oftentimes, but that's the only way to live. Like, if you're not stretching yourself, if you're not challenging yourself, if you're not growing, I mean, I don't think you're going to be fulfilled in the ways that I think you're meant to. And remember, what I mean by that is I'm not saying people should do what we did, bounce from city to city.
That's not for everybody.
Yeah,
trust me, okay.
Right, but I think their way. Anyone can define themselves, and they know when they go outside their comfort zone.
Yeah. I agree. I was okay. That was a lot. I just had I already said this, but it just makes your life so much richer. And you learn yourself. There's certain things you don't even know about yourself because you haven't been put in certain situations. If you just do this same thing every single day, you don't learn anything. You're on autopilot. You're on a zombie. And you don't get to learn anything about yourself. So I'm not, like you said, it doesn't have to be tragedy, but even just go to a different place that you go to different restaurants. This is anything. Put yourself in something that feels uncomfortable, and you start small, right? It doesn't have to be something big. It can just be in something tiny. Like I said, say you go to a bar every Friday, go to a different one. This is little tiny things, and just see
and build on it.
On it.
Yeah, because it's even if we come to Atlanta, I think that what Atlanta tends to have is they have a lot of introverts, and I have a love-hate relationship with that word, right?
Okay.
because don't get me wrong, I think there's real introverts out there. I think there are people who are, when they're around other people, they need to decompress.
Mm-hmm.
There are people who need to avoid just to quell their anxiety. Then sometimes it's a cop out.
Yeah.
It's all, oh,
That's
I'm
true.
introverted. I don't do that. I was like, no, you can't. Get outside your comfort zone. Talk to people. Get out into the world.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Join a club, join a group, join an association. Come on now. You know, life is about people. You know what I'm saying? We're about networking. It's about building with people, building with neighborhoods and community. Life is community. And so for you to say, nah, I'll do that, that's people who's not trying to stretch themselves.
That's an excuse. I like that you're saying that's a cop out, because it can be for sure. One of my favorite song probably is "Lean on Me," and I cry every time I listen to it, because to me it's a chill song. It's by Bill Withers. "Lean on Me." But it's just like simplistic lyrics, but it's so profound and so deep to me, and like it's really what life's about. We all need each other for something at some point. Like we really do need each other. That's what's going back to what I was saying about humanity. That's what scares me about capitalism, losing that humanity.
We're breaking each other, and the idea of everyone's as individualistic, and we're all just these money making machines. We all have to be our own big corporation, and then we look at the Elon Musk and say that's the path to go. I'm like, is that really? Do we want more of those Elon Musk? You know, no knock to Elon Musk and his character, but I just think that there's different models here. I think why not think community? Why not think bigger than ourselves and joining forces and energy? If we have to go spiritual, let's talk energy. You know, spread that energy. But I'm with you. I just think that we, for whatever reason, I mean, obviously we know what the reasons are, in the sense of always having to achieve individualistic expression. Like, you know, other parts of the world, you go to South America or African countries, and they don't get this concept of, you know, individual pursuits and following your dreams and ego-driven concepts. Like, to them, it's like we're part of a tribe. We're part of an ethnic. We're part of a community, a group. It's us together. We form together. It's not, I'm going to just go to, you know, high school, get out, you know, and go out into the world and express myself and achieve. No, it's how can I build with families in my home, back home, and give them what they need, you know, and be an incubator, you know, be a someone that can lead the way and pass down good energy. So I think I agree with that, and I think that we need to really need to think outside the box. I think we lack imagination. We just accept the world the way it is. Yeah. And we can't. We're better than this. Even for the new generation, we have to be better than this. Like, you go to the average person, and the minute you start even raising the question about capitalism, then of course they say, oh, socialism. And so, which is a curse word, right? Right. And then it's like, and then you start going down that direction, then it's like, you just shut down. You know, you ain't realistic, you ain't serious.
I don't like this, we can't have thoughts, we can't have conversations. It doesn't, no one's right or wrong. It's like, we're just exploring. Like, what are the possibilities? Can we just have a conversation? We don't have to agree. Like, we can treat each other with respect and kindness and hear the perspective. Oh, keeping our minds open.
A free flow information. Free thinking. Come on, more free thinking.
I promise, and it doesn't have to be a convincing thing, and then the other person's defensive about it. It's just listening, and that's it. Like I heard this quote, like, listening is love, or whatever, and I love that, because I think it is. And when you feel heard, it feels so good. And when you talked about community, I would say my lowest, darkest point in my life is when I didn't have community. And that taught me how important, it's like you don't know what you got till it's gone. But like, that taught me how important community is to me, how important my friendships are, and like just interacting like with these, just being humans together. Let's just be some humans. Because I was working, like, not to get too detailed, but like I was working from home, and I had just moved to LA, so I was living by myself, and I was like nervous to put myself out there. I wasn't going to go to no networking events. Like, I was just like staying in my little box, because I was so like, I was intimidated by the city and all that. But the big takeaway is that lack of community was painful. And so I think it's so important to have it and cultivate it. And that's why, like, here, I put myself out there all the time, because I know how important it is for me to have that, you know. So,
and how's that working for you?
It's really good. I meet great people, and everything doesn't have to be my best friend. Like, you know, it's these conversations are helpful and they feel good.
It could be in different parts of your life that gets fulfilled. In fact, it's interesting enough. You know, 10 years in January will be 10 years for me in Atlanta, and one of the things that really brought me even closer was this sense of community, because so much of me was, I was kind of going, even New York, I was kind of going in and just kind of grabbing what I needed to grab and getting out, right? Like, there was never this sense of supplanting myself And even by the time when I bought property about my house here, I'm sitting thinking to myself like, is this home? And home is just a unique thing for us millennials or even the young generation, like, because we're so all over the place.
Yes.
Home is not what it was back in the 60s and 70s where you had a home and then you had lineage and there's a group of people in that certain area. They never left for X amount of years or generations. But it's different for us now. And so then it's like, maybe we just have to redefine home. And so for me, it was like I started embracing community. I started being part of associations and groups here. And then I started curating. Day one since I came to Atlanta, I was volunteering. Community service was very big for me. And I've moved up in my philanthropic route. And so I think those are things, because now I'm invested into this. I mean, I don't have kids, but I guess when you have kids and you're married or not, then you can, you take care of that school down the road, then you have a certain investment in the community outside just paying taxes.
Right.
But now it's almost like there's different ways I can contribute. Even as Atlanta continues to mold and form and change into whatever it's going to change into, I have a say in it. I have a place in that. I'm on my feet up like the rest of them.
Yeah.
So I think that sense of belonging, that sense of community embrace, that comes a long way. And it's one of the most underrated things or not. Because again, if you don't have that, you're going to feel homesick. You're going to feel outcasted. You're going to feel like this is just not me. This is not where I belong,
Yeah, I'll tell you, I literally got sick. I ended up having a heart condition. I had pericarditis. I ended up in the hospital. And I really think, I know this might sound hippy-dippy, but I think it was because I was so lonely and sad. Like, my body, because stress is real and, like, your body responds. I think my body literally was like, my immune system, like, shut down. So it's really serious. I mean, I don't have anything to back that up, but I made sure, after that happened, I made a conscious choice to make sure I put myself out there. I ended up making good friends. I'm still friends with today. And like, I haven't experienced that since, thank God. So it's like, I don't know. I think it's really serious to have, like you said, it doesn't have to be a whole bunch of people or anything like that. But and it doesn't even have to be like we hang out every day. But the belonging, the sense of community, like, and I love that you're saying you volunteer. You're ready to roll your sleeves up with the rest of the people here. Because it's also what you put in. Yeah. So it's like not always just taking. Yeah. Like,
and that was another thing too. I didn't want to just take from Atlanta.
Right.
As much as Atlanta's provided for me, it was like, wait a minute. It gave me so much. Let me get back.
What can I get to Atlanta?
Even if it's mentorships. Yeah. Community service mentorships, working with other groups and, channeling my ways, expressing myself in the ways that I feel can benefit others. Why not? Make myself available. But it's interesting enough. I read a book actually last year, and it was about a doctor who talked about health, and then, not to get too much off tangent, but he just said that the human being is a biosocial being. There's nothing divorced between the mind body. I think so much of our medical science is that it makes a partition, and he said what he brings up numerous examples of people who have cancer, and he said, like, for example, ALS and MS skyrocketed in the last 30 years. And he said to medical science, it baffles the American mind. Because ALS, the entire immune system shuts down. The entire spinal cord, everything just shuts down. I was like, what is this? And then he went back to trauma. He went back to addictions. He went back to childhood experiences. And he made that whole circle around. So much of our health can really be dictated just simply on us being real with ourselves and then acknowledging it. It may take therapy, it may take certain levels of training. But I don't doubt for a second that there's nothing divorced between the mind-body dynamic.
I don't either. I really don't.
So in other words, I know you said there's no proof to it. There's some science to it.
Yeah, and I think I think as my platform grows, I just want to be as responsible as I can. Yeah. So that's why I say those caveats. But in my heart, I know, but I don't in good conscience, like I haven't studied it and all that, so I don't want to like just be saying really big things all willy nilly. But it's right. No, it's right. We're running. I'm so glad to talk to you, and but we're running out of time. Now I didn't get to my questions, but it doesn't matter. How are you? How you feel?
All right, keep going.
Okay, yeah.
Tell me out.
I'll ask them like two more questions, the big ones of why we have the show, and so the reason for the show is to define success for ourselves. And so, how do you define success?
I define success as the moment where I am in par with my calling. Part of my destiny. Because there's so many times where I'm either on set, behind the camera, or I'm in the edit booth, whatever, in the documentary world, and I'm like, and just the privilege of being here. Like, who am I? You know, I'm just a former refugee boy from Rwanda, right? Like, how did I get here? Who pushed me in this direction? And so I think so much of that is that as long as I'm kind of staying true to that point. So I would define, for example, in the document world, to be real material scientific about it, I would define success as the A-list document filmmakers. You probably don't know them if you're not a document. But it's Alex Gibney, it's all those guys, Sidney Lumet, Raoul Peck, these A-listers, whatnot. My personal favorite, Errol Morris, Morgan Neville, Dawn Porter. Like, what makes them successful is they're not the most famous people, because you probably never heard of them. Mm-hmm. They're not the richest people. They're the people that when they pick up that phone and they get the calls for the next job, they say, I want an Errol Morris documentary. They'll throw a topic in them. And so I want, the day I know I'm successful, is that somebody with hopefully big budgets, 6 figures, will pick up the phone and say, I want an Adelin Gasana film. That's when you know you arrive. Because you're working a lot of people's work, and you're doing your own projects. You're doing your own projects to curate yourself as a director, writer, producer, all that. But then it's also now your work is resonating. 2 weeks ago, the Bowlings documentary I was doing, we had an Emory University screening. That was alumni screening, their homecoming. And the Fannie Willis, the district attorney, was there. She's a Emory University Law alumni. So was Marvin Arrington Jr., the Rwandan County Commission, and the university president was there. And then it was a room of maybe 50, 60 people. No one ever left the room in the entire screening. And then we had a Q&A afterward. And it's like, here I am sitting with this, and the university president and his wife is sitting there and watching my work and not budging 1 minute out of that room for the whole 2 hours of the documentary screen. That tells me your work resonates. Your work is now being valued. And that to me is bigger than how much was your budget or what's your return on the projects you've done. Because there's a lot of sweat equity. There's a lot that goes into this, and of course you want to reap the benefits afterward. But I think it's just that. I think it's about arriving. That I'm not fidgeting on my path. I'm challenging myself. There's days I don't want to go on a 8 a.m. Saturday morning shoot, but I'm going myself, and I tell you one thing, I always freak out. I don't freak out, but I get all, I don't want to do it. I'm real bad at myself. The minute after it's done, I feel like I'm king of the world. Like, I feel like I'm on top of the world.
No, nothing that's for real. I love it because a lot of people who are successful or like pursuing something on their own, they talk about that of they don't always feel like it, but they show up. And like even today, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't feel like doing an interview, but I'm having such a great time. And as soon as I get into it, I'm like, yeah. But it's the getting into it.
Oh, it happens every time for me. Every shoot. I mean, I had my friend might say, why you nervous? Because I was nervous about this Saturday shoot. Why you nervous? You do this like you've done it so many times. I said, I know, but it's just the way. It's just because you want it to go right. You're one. Sometimes you're one person shop on this. You wear multiple hats, and then just want it to come out right. And when it comes out beautifully, you're like, oh, let's do it again. Let's run it back.
Yes. Something that is like coming to mind from what you said, because it's what I think is it an epiphany? Why we admire people who do good work is not an ego thing or worshiping them. We admire them because of how they make us feel, and that's a value they bring to our lives. So when you're saying, if they call you and say they want your film, it's not about your ego or anything, or it's not about you. It's about how you make them feel and that value.
Something I've done caught them and said, he's speaking truth. He's speaking the vision I have. Yes.
And that's why it feels successful to you. It's much deeper than like, it's not about your name or anything like that. It's a much deeper thing.
I would have panic attacks if I'm famous.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But it's you giving so much of yourself, and it was received, and that feels like beautiful.
Yeah. It's full circle.
Yeah.
It's a full circle moment. It's like you're in the like. We talked about this before we started. Like, I think oftentimes when it comes to success, people always are so giddy for the red carpet experience, the sitting on yachts, but popping champagne, gets all glitz and glamour. But 9 times out of 10, 95% of the journey is unglamorous. It's sitting in a thing and trying to make something out of nothing. It's trying to motivate yourself. It's
Yeah.
trying to keep the fire burning. It's working with all kinds of people, and it happens all the time in production. Things just fall apart. Producers leave, different characters leave. You know, like friction happens with people you're working with. It happens all the time, and so I think it's so easy to look on the end product and the end result of things and say, "Oh, that's what I want." But you know, everything that comes around, and so anytime I come across someone successful or somebody who do it, to me, I don't have to say a word. The people who are successful and reach certain limits, they know, and they look at the other person. Yeah, you're in the same grind as I am, and they just said, "Keep going." One time I did one of my Q American documentaries I did in Miami. It's like I was just a kid, still wet behind the ears. I'm a real young age. Somebody said something very interesting too, because I did a screening at the library, and about 60, 70 people showed up, and he said, "Is continue to be successful. It's very unique to be successful." And he just walked away. And I just thought that was very interesting though, because I think that uniqueness is just that. It's not chasing the money or the fame or the gratitude or you need everyone to like you. It's, are you following your calling? Even as quietly as it's being told to you, because you can easily drown it out with all this information we get.
Yeah.
It's just being centered and say, am I being my authentic self? Am I going that direction? Am I living my path?
Yeah. It's this little tiny, you're so right about this voice. It's this little nagging thing, and it will not leave you alone. It will not. You can try to drown out, might work a little bit for a little temporarily. It doesn't stop. It just nags and pokes until you do what you're supposed to do.
Yes.
And it will haunt you.
Yeah. And you just gotta be clear and lucid about it. Like don't try to beat around the bush on it. Don't try to sideline it. Like be centered. Meditate if you need to. Turn everything off and just be clear about it. You know?
Yeah. And you said something else I wanted to say. But these people in these rooms know that nagging.
Yes.
And that's why I'm here, because I'm being nagged by
Yes.
this little tiny boy.
Something could be the thing. I think two things of what hinders people from success or following their authentic self is one is a fear of failure.
Okay.
For whatever reason, they're on this notion that the whole world's paying attention to everything they're doing, and the minute they mess up on something, you can get chewed out. 9 times out of 10, if someone noticed your failure, you're probably 2 projects ahead. You know, like if you're on the grind.
Yeah.
And I think it's just this concept of failure and success is just something like a dichotomy. Sometimes for whatever reason we put it as 2 competing forces, and in many ways it lines up with each other, and it goes in that direction. You're not gonna be successful in everything you do. Oprah's not successful in everything. Nope. Aaron Moore's not successful in everything he does. But it's just kind of going in that thing. And that too, I think it's very simple. I don't think a lot of people want to put work in. I don't think a lot of people are willing to put the grind, the unglamorous hours, and it's homework. This is homework.
It's all the time.
It doesn't stop.
It don't stop. It's all consuming. And that's fair. And you know what? Maybe everybody's not supposed to, you know.
No, I think it's a destiny thing aspect to it as well.
Yeah. But I think whenever you follow those unbeaten kind of paths, it is a lot of work and I had somebody on the show who said a lot of self-motivating, because there's nobody holding you accountable. They don't care.
Nope.
Nobody cares.
Everybody's doing it. There's 1,000 people doing thousands of things, and they're not worried about you until you start hitting their radar, and it's like, okay, now I can plug with him.
But nobody's gonna push you on the way up.
Nope.
Only you. So that's like, and you staying focused and doing all that. So I think that's the hard part of like staying motivated when not. I just saw this thing that said, you know, staying motivated when seemingly nothing's happening. Not a thing. Nothing's moving but you. You're like, okay, I'm gonna get up and work again all day, work really hard, and get my heart and soul. Nothing's happening, though. And it's like
I would say what encourages me in those days is when there's not much happening, phone calls aren't coming in or things aren't working, just do one more thing than you would normally do. Even if it's the smallest thing. It could be for you just logging a thing or finding 5 people that may say yes to another interview, may say come around to your podcast. Just one little thing, and it says, okay, I did my part. Once you just kind of do the building block, that's where momentum goes. It's just a domino effect. You just build momentum that way. And so that's why we success people congratulate the success people, because like, I mean, I was saying the other day, like Steve Harvey lived in this car for 3 years. You know what I'm saying? Like even Tyler Perry, these guys were homeless. Like
Jim Carrey did too.
Yeah, like to have that tenacity, that vision, the unbridled belief in yourself. That's powerful. You know what I'm saying? And if you can be thrown to the bottom of the bottom, and still say, nah, I'm still going with my authentic self, and then now to be clear with that, their level of success is not guaranteed.
Right.
But again, that success seen in a different perspective though. If when I mean guaranteed, I'm talking about like you're not gonna be a millionaire every time you act in your next gig, or you can spend. I could be doing documentaries for the next 30, 40 years. I'm not gonna guarantee be an A-lister, but heck, I got the University of President watching my stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm on that path, and everything else is cake. Everything else is icing. I am meeting my authentic self in whatever my calling was, however way it came at me, and however way I was present for it. I think just going that route is good enough.
And what's the alternative?
Exactly.
Because when I'm not doing, when I'm not productive, and I'm not listening to the voice, or I'm not, I get so sad, so down, and start beating myself up. And now enough is enough. I'm just tired of my shit. So I'm like, I'm never gonna do that. Like I'm not gonna like let it go again.
Yes.
Because it's for what? Like I know the alternative. I've seen it, and it's not pretty. So you know, it's not pretty, and I'm not gonna allow that. So I think that defining success in that way, of just showing up for yourself all the time.
Being accountable, looking yourself in the mirror and say, look, I'm being extra. I'm blowing up at the wrong people. Like it just always holding yourself accountable and knowing where it's kind of like working out.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like you think to go out of your way 4 or 5 times a week to go to the gym is the easiest thing to do, whether it's early in the morning or after work.
It don't matter when you do it. You showing up every day.
You're doing it. I'm at a point now where it's almost like before I even think about it, I'm halfway there.
Yeah.
Like I'm already in the car.
Autopilot. Like
I'll be rolling out of bed.
That's what I said about working out. I said it's got to be like brushing my teeth. I don't think about it. You got to brush the teeth.
Because think about and that's what I tell people. Like if you had to think about working out, 9 nights and then it was me. If it was a choice, I'll be kicking back, get my Netflix down and just chilling.
Listen.
It has to be part of that ingrained.
It's not a question. It's a non-negotiable. Yeah. It's a non-negotiable, and that's it. And so that's how I need to make sure I get. And that's what taught me, because I've been working out consistently for years now, and that's what taught me about commitment. Like, so when I came to the podcast, I'm like, things don't always go well. Like I said, I might, I have to adjust and pivot, but it's a commitment. Right. And like with going out and networking, I don't feel like it's okay. I work from home. I don't have to put on makeup. So when you do the events, I gotta put on makeup. I gotta find an outfit. That's the stuff I don't have to do. Listen, that's stuff I don't have to do. I don't have to do that to go to my job. Like, it's not like, I got dressed and then I go for work today. And I'm not saying it's easy. I'm just saying you're already kind of out. You're already there. And so I have to do a lot for me to do those. And it's like, but it's a non-negotiable. They have to show up. And I've already seen rewards from it. Like, and to remind me of why. And I don't want the rewards to sound kind of cheap, but I'm seeing the benefit of why I'm showing up. Like it is paying off. And
in many ways, I think you working out adds to everything else of your life, happiness and success, because then you build self-discipline, you focus. Things are more clear in a sense. So it's all part of it.
Yeah,
the journey.
It does a lot for you, for your life. Okay, I'll ask you this, and then we can wrap up. But when are you? I did real quick. I promise we'll wrap up soon. When you say authentic self, how do you? And I know you talked about being quiet, but how did you get in touch? How do you know him?
Good question. How do you know him? I think it's like you said, it's a voice, and we get voices from all over. And I think that every time you're in these spaces. Anytime I went for look, to be clear, there has been nothing more clear in my life than me and documentaries. Anytime I worked on a project, I've worked on a lot of various projects, but I just feel like every time I'm there, I'm like, I'm just vibing. It's just flowing. It doesn't feel like work. I think that's what it is. When you are connected with that, then it's like, okay, I'm here. When I think sometimes you call this the spidey sense. Spider-Man has this little spidey sense that there's danger coming around. You'll know when you're in a place where it's like, it's either not, you're not feeling it, the vibes aren't there, or it's, mediocre. It's not you can't give your best here. But then when you stay quiet and again, as a young person, you get a lot of voices. You get a voice from everything. I just think it's just being present, first and foremost, and really being open-minded. Just opening yourself up and just letting the world come in the most natural sense. And as you get older, and I'm at this stage in my life where I'm not forcing things anymore. I'm letting vibes come out. Because now I'm at a point where I think so much of life is more destiny than free will. I go back and forth on it.
I don't know.
Sometimes free will is like, no, you have to put volition in.
Yeah.
You got to put work in. But then I'm like, maybe it's just, these are the people born to do that.
Yeah.
Like, it's just natural that they go down.
You were going to do that anyway.
Yeah.
Because it was destiny.
Right. And it's just the building blocks to that plan. So, but I say all that to say that I think when you are really present with yourself, stay quiet, and it's okay. Listen to all the voices. Because some voices are part of the messaging. Sometimes they're just totally off. But I think it's just following that. But I think it's when you really surround yourself in the circles of where your calling is. I know there's people who, for example, like I have a friend of mine who just hates working indoors. Always thought that being outdoors was them. And he just didn't know what it was. Was it working with animals? Was it working on a farm? Was it working out in equestrian? And no, he was working on water. And now he's kind of like a scuba diver kind of thing, and he works the tubing and everything. And to me, that's it. You know what I'm saying? So I think he just saw the itch, felt the itch, and heard the voice. But by aligning himself into that path, I think that's what the authentic stuff I'm saying is that then everything is quiet. But you would have to be present for it. But I think that if we still keep thinking about, I don't know what I'm going to do in early next year, or I got to do New Year's resolutions, or you're always thinking ahead.
Mm-hmm.
You're speeding past that voice. That voice is going to come center you. Be quiet about it. And there's practices for this. There's meditation that helps you, quiet the mind and then let that voice speak or not. But you know when the itch is coming at you, and you'll know how to navigate you. And that's another thing too, though. The very fact that you know where it'll take you, the path. You may not be as clear about why am I here or where am I going, but somehow I'm following that voice. And it's like, it landed me in Atlanta, Georgia. I mean, I didn't think about Atlanta when I was from high school, middle school, high school to college. Atlanta was Atlanta, but I was like, Atlanta?
Yeah.
Like, lo and behold, you know what I'm saying? Here I am. And so I think it's just, you'd be surprised where those currents will take you.
Yeah, and that ties into what you're saying about being open-minded.
You got to be.
Because you putting the blocks on some stuff that you might need, that would be helpful for you to see.
Yeah, because there's so much things in our society that keeps us closed-minded. I think our biggest two things is religion and politics. Sometimes our politics, we talk about why people don't agree and there's free flowing thought. It's just always, we feel like we have to fill one lane, one side of the issue. Mm-hmm. And again, this goes back on our capitalistic worldview. There's so much of this either or dichotomies. It's either this or that. It's so black and white.
No gray.
No, exactly. And I'm in documentary. I know so much of life is, when you tell somebody's story, you starting to get back at the layers of a person. You go back into the gray. That's all. We are all made of layers. There's nothing black or white about us. We're not stereotypical in one way. We're not pigeonholed another. I think we need to get outside that. And this work, this path to success and happiness, it requires to be open-minded, and that's homework.
Yeah.
It takes, especially if you're not used to that kind of component. But I think so many people, play it safe or get back to their comfort zone and stick hold to their political worldview or their religious worldview. I'm like, it could be. I think it's limiting. I think your potential is so much bigger than.
Yeah, I'm sure there's some psychology to it, but we're creating our identities based off our beliefs, and so and we're attached. I'm reading about attachment right now, and and I was thinking about it in a material sense, but what the book talks about is being attached to ideas and your conditioning or whatever. So, because most of us end up in the religions that we were raised in, and believing in the parties, the political parties that we were raised in.
Right.
I mean, not even challenging those ideas from the very beginning. And so, even if we do, we tend to kind of lean towards, kind of bias towards that anyway, and lean towards it. But I think I forgot where I was going with the but just those attachments, and it blocks a lot and keeps it keeps it keeps stuff out.
Yes. We're not born with it. We are two highly minded, spiritual journey people in this world. We are highly intellectual. Let's use our brains. Let's use all of them. Well, don't we want to stretch ourselves? Like, life is too short to not.
And it's immediately, like you said, limiting. But and then it's like this finger pointing. So you're not thinking about your like. Is that another distraction from keeping from yourself?
Yeah.
It's like you're wrong. Yeah. My way is right.
We've been taught that from day one, from our days of schooling as a young kid to going into church. Some people are born into church or not. It's always the finger pointing, the blaming, the putting things in boxes, the taboos. Like, we're in a society that doesn't talk about anything that is of real importance, you know. And we just kind of just brush things under the rug and just let things go. But I think we're much better. Our potential as a community, I think, is better than that.
Mm-hmm.
But we have to do our best. And I just think as a whole, as a community, we're not doing our best.
No.
We have a lot of work to do.
All right. We gotta figure out some. Well, we're having these conversations.
These conversations are good.
And
here in Atlanta, like, I'm part of these, you know, colloquials and whatnot, and consortiums that are having these type of conversations at all levels. We talk to at-risk youth, to, you know, talking to senior citizens, again, them connected or not to what the world is, and I just think those are the real pathways to, you know, freeing minds. You know, like, I think we can be so much better of our society, and like I said, it can just start from the little community to the village to the city, and then it spreads outward. But I think that once we channel that energy to spread it and say, let's think outside the box. Let's see what more we can do. And if I can be an illuminating light in that, and I always tell folks, my phone is always open. You know, email me, text me, call me, chat with me. I'm always about freeing minds and getting us to think outside the box. You know, because we have the potential to do that. Yeah. You know,
and that's why you do the work you do. It's wonderful.
That's the kind of work that I do, and I hope that my work and more so, I want to open doors for others too. Like, I'm such a documentary aficionado. Like, I see myself in my golden years being executive producer and just greenlighting projects and say, this is a young filmmaker. He has the next voice. Because, you know, I'm not gonna be Spike Lee where I'm holding on to the mantle thinking like I can still do films into my 70s or not. But the idea that the next voice, next generation of creators wants a crack at it. They want an opportunity. So I want to lend that door. You know, if my path to success can show light that to another documentary filmmaker behind me, I'm all for that. Let's mentor. There's so much in this. You know, like, we don't have to close the gate on this. There is so much to go around. You know, like, we can feed each other or not. You know, we always even say this in independent filmmakers. Like, I think one hand wash the other. So in the sense that, you know, I always tell young people, like, just create. Stop all this going to film school stuff or learning after. Just create content, because what happens is you can do a project and then that actor can be a writer for another project you're working on, and y'all can just trade first. So it's like a small team of 5-6 people can start creating all this content, and you're only gonna get better with it.
Yeah.
This is how you build community and build momentum or not. Like, one hand washes the other kind of thing. I think that collaborative mindset, it can even spew to the best creative prowess you can ever imagine.
Wow.
You know, and so I think I like to encourage. That's why I tell you, I'm a big independent filmmaker or independent creator. I love when people do it outside the mainstream and not necessarily go the big authentic route. I think there's a space here that really can tell authentic stories and whatnot, and get, you know, raise awareness on all kinds of issues.
If you have more freedom, do you have more freedom in the independent world?
Yeah, creative freedom is 100% yours. I think that oftentimes with some of the bigger projects, so say I get a documentary that's greenlit by Hulu on Netflix, whatnot, which is a great thing too. I'm always open for business. But no, there's powers to be, and then there may be some attachments to certain things you can't go into, and you know, you never know what kind of size you get to. So when you're outside of that world, there's no limits. You know, especially on the more controversial topics or the more touchy topics or not. There's nothing that can kind of pigeonhole you when it comes to exposing things or raising awareness on issues. You know.
Okay.
topics.
Okay. That's helpful to know. Not really for me, but for documentary makers, like
right, but similar like you. I mean, you want creative freedom in what you do as a podcast, because say somebody comes and say Revolt TV takes your thing, and then suddenly enough you answer up to certain executive producers who tell you, oh, you should be this, or you should be curated that way.
That's so true.
Yeah.
I went to a conference and she was one of the panelists was talking about that. I think she owned a restaurant, but she said the more money, the more people get to answer to when it's that kind of thing. So like not always the more money, but like when you got the big wigs, you have more people to answer to, and you have more limits.
Yeah.
And
it's something the fork in the road. The fork in the road, because
tricky.
because the fork in the road is like, okay, I see where this can take me. I can create those platforms. A lot of times, certain artists, you see this in music a lot. They'll go down that path or whatnot, and then just sort of drift off, and then take that platform, that momentum elsewhere.
Yes.
But it all depends on, again, going back to that calling. What's your call? Maybe that calling will take you to that thing, but it may take you there, but won't keep you there.
Mm-hmm.
It'll tell you, be here for now.
Yeah.
You know, get whether it's a place to build your name and your platform, or to make some money so you can build off to another project or something else. So some voices aren't not gonna keep you in a permanent place. It's always gonna keep you moving. You know.
Yeah, and know what to do with it. So when you're saying stay in your like in tune with yourself and authentic, because like say I'm doing this and I'm 22, and then this big company comes and tells me at 22 I had no idea who I was. They're gonna come in and tell me who I am. And now I gotta fight through even more to figure out who I really am, because they have their agenda, their goal, and they're gonna make me anybody that they're investing money in. Yes. You are a product, and so we're gonna make you what we want you to be, because this is our product. Yeah. But now at my age and like all the work that I've done, I can say, one, you can look at it and say, I'm going to use this situation for my benefit. But two, I know who I am and what I'm willing. Some things I'm not going to compromise, and you're not going to tell me who I am to this extent. What compromises am I willing to make? Because I think you will have to make some in these instances. But it's like, how far is this going to go?
Yeah, we cross the line there.
Right.
I mean, you see that with a lot of models who enter industries, musicians and whatnot, music artists, and then actors and whatnot, like child actors. Like sometimes when they're in that impressionistic years, those young youthful years where you're trying to redefine yourself or try to figure yourself out. Forget redefine it. Let's define first.
Yeah.
And you're right. I think there's so much stuff in the way that can stymie that, and limit that. And so I think you're right. I think you need to just keep hold to that calling. But see, again, this is where the tragedy comes in all this. Is like, then, people get addicted at a certain age because they're trying to cope and try to get themselves out of the box or not. Is because they weren't following that authentic self or not. Because in many ways, I think the authentic self is not always going to tell you the perfect place. Nothing about this is utopian. Sometimes it's going to get you down certain paths, but it's for you to learn a lesson and move on.
Yeah. I think, and I'm glad you said that. It's an important point. And one of my favorite quotes is, following your dreams is not pain free. And I think that's where we get this misconception. And that's what you're describing. Like, so just because you follow it doesn't mean there's not going to be this perfect everyday, like we said, like this fairy tale situation. It just doesn't work like that. And really, even fairy tales, they have that down part.
Oh, yeah.
Come back up.
Exactly. The resolution is the denouement, which is we talk about the 3-act outline in storytelling and whatnot. But yeah, I think every story is just that. It's just. And I think oftentimes when every time we do documentary screenings, whatnot, we have the Q&A, and then so the first question always be like, Anna, what you watch, you get into this, how you do it. But then a lot of times people want to know the journey, like how challenging was it? Bowleg documentary we did in the middle of COVID and whatnot, and worked with various people and whatnot. So I think that you're right. I think that it's not always glitz and glamour, but giving that other side to it gives it a bigger dimension. In that sense, one of my favorite quotes comes from a Miami filmmaker, Billy Corbin, down in South Florida, and he has this quote that says, "There's only 2 rules in documentary filmmaking: find a good story, don't fuck it up."
Nice. Okay.
So I know you talk about at the very beginning, like what defines a good documentary or what makes a bad documentary. I think it's just that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just sometimes some stories are just so big and just so amazing that all you want to do is be as authentic and fly on the wall as you can possibly get. Don't try to put your fingerprint on it. Don't try to mold it. Just capture it. Capture and just seamlessly present it. Like that to me is real documentary filmmaking is seamless. It just needs to flow. You know what I'm saying? Like there shouldn't be any curation. If you sit with your editor in the post production and sitting there thinking like, okay, how we gonna make this story? How we gonna position this story to that? No, you ain't got the storm story, or you fucking it up.
Well, you're gonna find out today. You're gonna learn. Okay. Well, I don't need to ask any more of these questions because in our talking, you have answered all of them and given us a lot today.
And I will apologize. My bachelor's degree is in philosophy. So
this makes sense.
It just goes down
You lied. You said that you went to school for film.
I did double major. I was double major.
All right. No, I'm just kidding.
I was double major TV film, and then it's funny because I always thought I was like, why didn't you major in this for? And then I was like, let me just minor it. Just take 3-4 classes. It's fun and just get out of it. And so I'm in my freshman year. It's a philosophy of myth and fantasy. We're talking about superheroes and everything.
Okay.
Philosophy of all things. And I'm in front of the class. I'm a 19-year-old kid. I'm thinking everybody's so much smarter than me. I'm not gonna say a word. I'm too intimidated. Like people know Foucault and Socrates and all this other stuff. It's like let me just shut up and I'm just absorbing it. And there was a guy sitting at the front desk and he had his chair looking straight at me and he was rocking back and forth and he just smiled and says, "You're gonna major in this." I'm looking at him and I'm like, I give him a sign. Like, what am I gonna do with a philosophy degree in the 21st century?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like the napkin I use is worth more than the philosophy degree. But then, lo and behold, a year and a half later, I saw myself walking into the administrative office and said, "Let me get more than these 5 classes," and I made you all the way.
I wish that I am fascinated by philosophy, and I wish that I wanted. If I had my dream life, I think I would go be in school indefinitely because I love learning.
Yeah.
So I go back and major in philosophy, but I also think that I would be overwhelmed sometimes, because it's philosophy, if I'm correct, is you challenge almost everything.
Oh yeah.
And so my brain
it's a constant articulation of everything you've been taught. You not only just be challenged about the substance, but then even just how to get to that substance. So we talked the epistemology, the idea of the formulating of knowledge itself. And so it's you talking about refining of refinement, right? Like it's constant digging, constant challenging. But for me, it was philosophy was just learning how to learn. That was kind of how it did, because we talked a lot about this. Is how do you approach a very given topic, whether it's success or happiness or not. It's how do we formulate this? Where do these terms come from? How we were given to this? How we were introduced to this, and how do we formulate it over time? And so I think that's what philosophy was. And in many ways, I think documentary filmmaking is kind of the bridge of what film and philosophy is. Is that oftentimes the documentarian asks not just the who, what, where, why, and how question of a journalist, but even gives you the vastness of the subject matter. And so just as philosophy is vast and dense, so is the very beginning stages of documentary filmmaking at the research level. And it's once you constantly extract it, refine it, it's almost like archaeology. You go for the dig, and then you start formulating into this thesis that you have of a documentary storyline. And so that's the philosophical approach. So in many ways, it was almost kind of a mirror of itself. So here I'm doing TV film, working the practical aspect of learning how the components of what filmmaking is and the power get in demand. Then you take the philosophical point of view and just kind of marry the two in, and you get documentary. And so I think that in many ways, I say it, I'm poo-pooing the philosophy degree, but in full circle, it makes sense.
Okay.
360.
Okay. No, I'm so intrigued by that, and I'm also shocked that I didn't learn about the philosophy part until the end of the interview.
I know I should have. There's so much. There's so much thing. I hope I put enough of that in my website or not. But yeah, it's just because it's just philosophy not sexy.
Yes, it is.
It's not. Having people sit down and talk about everything from the concept of God to what love is. Like, you can spend all night long talking about that. Some people just want to arrive at the answer. Give me the answer and walk away. In fact,
no, what is the fun in that?
I know, one of my philosophy professors told me this, that why is it always find the right answer? Maybe it's asking the right question.
Yeah. Oh. Mm-hmm.
Because we always talk, because I think what really drew me in philosophy is like, what is the meaning of life? What is the purpose of this human experience? We're here for a temporal period. As my father would say, the parentheses of your life. The year you're born and for the year you die. And then that little dash.
Yeah.
What is the experience for? Are we here to love? Are we here to, for our future generation? Are we here to procreate? Create our lineage, increase the human network. So it was always those questions that just drew me to, and these are the bigger questions of life.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I could talk about that all. That's why you like it was not sexy. I'm like, who said that? I don't disagree 100%. We don't talk about, but that question, like, why are we here? I had to stop asking myself that. I was like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter why we're here. I'm gonna do my best. I'm gonna live this thing.
There's that's my conclusion. Is there's no real. It's not a scientific approach to it. Like, there's no one right answer to that.
Right.
And I think that I think in many ways we are going back to the whole tragic comment. I think in many ways we are like a tragic mistake in many ways. Like, in the sense of like the cosmology. Galaxies are created of black holes.
Okay.
I mean, this just came out of nothing. Just the balance of the equilibrium of life and then how things exploded. I mean, we came to the human being when it evolved from its the ape-like primate ancestors, Neanderthal ancestors lineage. There was 37 different variations of human being, of the bipedal human being. Only the Homo sapiens survived.
Oh wow!
Which
I
is
didn't know
us.
that.
Exactly, and that's
I know I'm a Homo sapien.
Homo sapien, yes, exactly. But there was 37 different variations of the human being.
Yeah.
And then, interesting enough, 20,000 years ago, when the human being came, the Neanderthal and his primary ancestors disappeared. They were extinct. So wherever the human being entered, huge ecosystems and animals were going extinct.
Mm-hmm.
Partly because of just our way of being, right? We are
Yeah.
consumers. We take over environments and stuff. So that's tragic.
Okay.
In that kind of big picture. So what is this experience then?
And I think that's why I left it alone, because it's gonna do what it's gonna do.
It's too fast.
It's too fast, and it doesn't matter if I know or not. It's not gonna change anything.
Right.
Like, I'm still gonna do what I'm gonna do while I'm here.
Right. You gonna wake up the same day with the same motivation.
Listen, and I'm gonna do my best and all that. And so I just don't see the point in wrecking my brain over this answer that is elusive and like it's never gonna. And I don't need it to be who I'm gonna be in the world.
Right. And this is enough. When we were freshmen and sophomore students in philosophy, we thought that we had to get to that point. But as you get older and you start reading more into various Western philosophy, Greek philosophy, existentialism, postmodern thought, what you do get is just the challenging of various ideas. That I really think what is my approach to philosophy is it just breaks away from doctrine and dogma. That this idea that someone can throw a belief at you and say, I'm here to believe it without question. That to me, I think philosophy broke that out of me. And no longer, it doesn't matter where it comes from. It can come from my priest, it can come from my president, or even my manager. Like this idea that just because someone states the law, let's talk about it. Break it down.
One of my biggest values is thinking for myself. And so nobody, I don't care who you are, you're not going to tell me how to think. Right. I am going to question it. Might not question it to you. Right. I'll let you say whatever you want to say.
Of course, yeah.
But I'm going to go home and think for myself, and I'm going to, and I might agree with you. Again, none of this is...
come to that realization.
Yeah, right. But I'm going to think for myself and come to it by myself. Yes. And this is a conversation by myself. Like, I'm not even going to tell you. Right. Like, if you were in a position right now that you're telling me I have to do something a certain way, I'm going to be like, all right, cool, whatever. Yeah. I'm not going to say whatever. I'm going to say, okay. Yeah. And then I'm going to go home and say, is this the real?
Do your homework, Google it,
everything. Yeah, I'm going to do all that. And then I'm going to say what I'm going to do. Right. Nobody's going to tell me how to think.
So, let's just, in your observation of other people, is that the case? And it says, do people break things down? extract things, make sense of things, or do they simply just take for what they're given and walk away?
That's a broad question because there's so many different kinds of people in the world. I think a lot of people, I don't know about a lot. Some of my observations have been some
people do challenge.
They do what?
They do challenge.
No, they don't care, so they don't think about it.
Apathy. Yeah.
They don't care, and it takes a lot of work to think.
Yes.
And in our society, like you gotta turn off so much to think. You gotta turn
or
off the Netflix.
Right, but even
but
even turning it on. I mean, for example, like say I'm somewhat conservative. I go through my day, and then at home I want to watch what's going on in the news. I turn Fox News on. They say a couple things about what's happening in the world. I say, okay, I agree with that, and I turn off and go home, or go to bed and eat dinner, go to bed. Like for them, it's not the thought of, is that exactly what's going on? Is that really happening the way he said it?
I don't have tolerance. And I don't want to be mean, but I'm really intentional. Like I moved here and I'm starting all over, meeting all new people, right? But in my life, I don't have a lot of patience or tolerance for people who don't question things to be a part of my life, like in any real way. Because I don't. It's not that I don't respect you, but what am I gonna learn? Like you just accept anything. Well, our conversations are not gonna be simulated for me. I'm not. This is not like anybody in my life. After I leave them, I want to feel like I'm better. And I want them to feel like they're better. Even if we're just being silly, like we're telling jokes, but if we're gonna have conversations, they have to be thoughtful, and like of course respectful. But so the people that I see that don't question, I just kind of get away from them. But I do see a lot of it. Like I don't want to get into specific examples, but like you said, when you see the news. The lack of questioning, the lack of thinking, and these people, they all say the same thing. They're paid.
Same narrative.
Like you can even just look at the facts that this is about money. Everything's money driven. You have to remember that. It's you whether you like it or not. This society is nothing that's not money driven. So when you're watching something mainstream and you're gonna just take that, I'm sorry, I can't be around you. I don't, and that's one of my attachments. Like that's me. I'm not being judgmental. I just don't have space for that. And again, I'm not about agreeing. I'm not about you have to agree with me. But why you ain't even think?
Yeah.
You ain't even question it.
When they say we only use 10% of brain, or some people say as far as 1%, I mean even that 1-10%, let's use it. You know,
why do you even ask any questions? You just are blindly listening to anything, and it makes me feel like you're super gullible, and like you also that you're putting yourself in a really, really kind of dangerous position because you're kind of you're vulnerable. Somebody can do anything to you. So anybody that has said that they have power and that you trust to have power, you're gonna do anything they tell you to do, and that's scary.
But that's how we see dictatorships happening. That's how we see terrorism happening when people get recruited. You start seeing a lot of ills in society, which requires this level of dogma that builds into conforming. And when you have people just to conform, and then they start a young seed. I mean, if you look at even Nazi Germany, like they were going after the young generation, and they were just blindly believing.
Right.
That's why
I do not use the word scary lightly. Like scary sounds like it's not a big time word. It's a very big word, and it can be very, very dangerous. And I don't use those words lightly because, like you said, we saw what happened in Germany with that, like. And that's all for people not, and I'm not saying all, I'm not saying that, no, because sometimes there's a lot behind that, but just that challenging and questioning, like, that's what scares me about, like, you pick a political party and then you blindly follow them.
It's unbelievable.
No.
There's people who are like, they even when they vote, they like the Christmas tree. They have their issues, whether it's abortion, the capital punishment, whatever, and they just check the list off and say, I'm following that thing, but not even the nuances
no study,
of it.
And
the gray area.
No research, and then we're like, so, and then like the confirmation biases, and just only looking at things that are confirming what you already think. You don't even challenge yourself. That is some scary stuff.
But challenge yourself, but again, that goes with homework, and a lot of people are just not at that space where they're willing to going down that road
Right.
and opening themselves up.
You have to be able to admit that you could be wrong too, like, and I think that's being, it's because like with me, I'm quick to say I'm not perfect. I always have work to do. Always, I'm always gonna be. It's an evolution, like always. But I'm at a space, and I think I've always been pretty good at it, of saying, and I'm okay with saying my strengths, and one of them is saying when I'm wrong and asking questions, and not. Now I goes when I was younger, I didn't ask all the questions I needed to. You get embarrassed, but now I'm like, no, I have a question I'm gonna ask and I'm gonna find out. And so I think that's really good. And but if you are afraid to ask questions and you don't trust yourself to say, you know what, I was wrong. I'm wrong. This attachment I've had for years is wrong.
Yeah.
I messed up right there. Or I just didn't know, or whatever. But if you don't have the capacity for that to own that and be okay with it, I think that's when you run into like this like crazy attachment, and like you don't, and the non, because you don't want to challenge yourself because you're scared to tell yourself that I just told myself I was wrong. Like, if you don't want to do that, then it's like, of course you're just gonna stay in your own world where it's comfortable and safe and cushy, and just keep believing that.
Yeah, and more the sense of conforming. I think even you can even reflect back in your younger days when you were reduced to peer pressure and you didn't want to do it, but you just did it because half your friends went in that direction, you just went along with it, and you just kind of, you always pull back. And some people, like myself, I would like to think I grew out of that. Other people still doing it. They're still being peer pressured. They're still conforming.
It takes courage, but what it goes back to what you said earlier of we are a social being, right? And so our tribes, I use that word loosely, but you know what I'm saying. Here, you picked your tribe, or your tribe's picked you, or whatever, you're born into it. And this is what me and my tribe agree on, and I'm not going to change it, because it would take a lot of courage, because it could lead to isolation. You lose all you've ever known. The people that you love stop. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They don't
shake you.
It's not unconditional love. So I'm lucky enough that with my family, I could go in there and say, I'm not with y'all political. I wouldn't have these conversations now. I would just keep my mouth shut. But if I did say, oh, I'm going to go with a different political party, they're going to still love me. They're not going to shun me. But everybody doesn't have that.
Wow. No, I agree.
So that's another layer to think about too, of like, it's not easy for everybody. And isolation is hard, especially like if it's your family, that's all you ever know. And they're like, well, if you don't believe this thing, you're out on the street.
Well, it's just you go in there. It's like, for example, people come out of the closet or not. You may have old traditional parents that sees the world in a certain kind of way, and they're not willing to open up the box to something bigger. And those are the things. You're right. It requires isolation, but at least them come out of the closet, and then find their authentic self.
Right.
That is. I'm now living who I am, and so I think part of that is part of this journey. So interesting how so much of this journey of happiness and success fits these same molds. The fear of failure, the not willing to work, do the homework. It all just is congruent, and it just puts you aligned to what this notion of success and happiness is. So I would encourage, if anything, to your viewers, is that to not think of success as the awards, the accolades, the money in the bank account, or anything like that, and think of it in those superficial realms. Think of it as, am I living my calling? Am I one with destiny? With my path is everything I'm doing may not be perfect, but it aligns to who I am.
And it makes it worth it.
Yeah, because you will get infinitely much better happiness results.
That's so true. You will be happier. Yeah. It won't be this like that synthetic. Am I using the same as like the synthetic happiness?
Yes.
I've used that I've been guilty when I'm trying to run from the voice, right? Trying to create this happiness or this feeling of like, I feel good, this is exciting, whatever, and like
if you use that to fill a void.
Yes, that's exactly. Yeah. But what you're saying, if you follow, like you said all of this is going back to, if you're just following what's for you and your purpose, you create this authentic, genuine happiness that is very different, that feels very, very, and that's why I said synthetic, because that happiness is not real. This this is it's a different place. It's
Yeah.
deeper.
It's
fulfilling.
Then when you walk that path and when you reach that level of happiness, like nothing can deter you. No rock can be thrown at you.
Mm-hmm.
Someone may say a smart comment, you just laugh at it. Like
Yes.
nothing phases you. I mean, no, we live in that world now where, like, you know, it can even be on social media. Like, you get a TikTok comment or a YouTube comment and it just messes your whole day up. I'm like, why are we giving that much power to somebody?
Right.
A
That's
complete stranger.
way quicker than I said it. Power.
Right. Like,
You don't have that over me.
We can own it. We own. Let's own our power.
Yeah.
Let's harness it and let's let that drive us. You know.
Yeah.
But like I said, once you're in this space, it's gonna reverberate. You're gonna just spread that energy to other people, and it becomes infectious. And people want to hang out with you, and it starts absorbing you. And then, you know, I'm extrovert now, so I can take a lot of people on. But
me too.
over time, though, you know, but then you're gonna get. This is also real. Then you're gonna get the haters.
Damn, the yin and yang.
The yin and yang. What happens is, like, even for me, as I excel in the work I do, there's people around me, and this could be a whole new topic, a whole new day. Is that what happens is people are cheering you on. They're the ones who are calling you everything. Then when you start really going to a space where it's like, this is even better than anyone could have thought of you. They're gonna start hating, but they're not gonna hate you. They're gonna hate how you challenging them. You know what I'm saying? Because you come from the same cloth as them, the same neighborhood. You put your clothes on, your pants on one leg at a time. So you didn't do anything different except you put the work in. You persevered. You grew, and they saw you along the track. And then once you start reaching a certain level, you say, "Wait a minute, Adeline did all that." It's like it reminds them of why they underachieved, why they didn't get it done.
Yeah.
Now, most people who are not in that right mindset, that's a threat. Now it's like, damn, you know, like now they're feeling some kind of way. Now, if they were in a better place, let me lead with him. Let me follow his thing, and then he'll branch out, and it will, you know what I'm saying? But for that, it's a threat. And so, especially if you haven't done that over the years, like just like your growth and my growth, it wasn't overnight. It took years of development to get to a certain place. But I think that you're gonna start surpassing people, and they're not gonna cheer you on as much now. You may get new cheers, you know, new audiences or not. But these old same people, especially people who know you, you know what I'm saying, that no man is a prophet in his own village.
Yes.
That is real, and then that can shake up what this idea of success and happiness is. Because at the end of the day, you want to give back. If you reach a certain success, you say, "Come on, I'm not this special. Let me pull you by your thing and let's do this together."
Yeah.
And you want to go back to that same hood, or that same block, or that same home, but they're your biggest critic. And just stay with your calling.
Yeah.
Don't worry about how it reverberates to other people. The people who understand you will follow you or cheer you on or be right in your support group. If not, it's okay to move on. Life is a cycle. Like, I mean, you ever went back home after college or, you know, years after leaving, and you try to hang out with the same people you grew up with, whether it's middle school or high school, and it's not the same, like, you're different people.
Right.
And it's okay.
It is okay.
I think sometimes we force it, and we feel like there's a sadness to it.
Yeah.
Re-evolve. That's just, people are going to come in and out of our lives. Some are more longer than others.
Right.
But that's what it is.
It's okay. It's okay.
And so I think that as you grow, and what I mean by this growth, this path to success and happiness, I'm also just talking about just personal growth, because you're going to remind them that you too can do it, and they didn't do it.
I mean, that's
or
fair.
They refusing to do it.
That's fair.
But no,
it's true. But what you're saying is true.
It's just about calling. It's just about you doing calling. Because that's what I say. Again, we'll go back into this capitalist society where we always differentiate the class levels, or some people are lower class, middle class, high class, and that's how we group people and vision things. The same power that was God divine or spiritual divine is in all of us.
Yes.
I just tapped into that calling and I just rolled away.
Yes.
You know, and heck, you can even, any person who, most major people who win big awards or win big prizes, and they give a congratulations, they just said, "I'm a happy guy." I mean, I'm no better than anybody else.
No.
It's just our calling came in a different place, and then I followed that through.
I just did it.
And I did the work. And I did the work.
Right.
There's no better than that. I mean, success and happiness. I mean, can you put a dollar sign in that? Can you put any type of external rumination to feel that idea of what that is?
Yeah.
no amount of words in the room can fill that.
No, I agree.
That space.
I agree. I think we figured it out. You guys, we got all the answers. We did it.
Yes, it was fun.
It was fun. I'm glad I got to talk to you. How do you feel? You good? You want to say anything else?
No, I mean, you said everything. I mean, I'm glad that you're doing a program like this to get at people who, because I think that oftentimes we feel like success is for the certain unattainable. So greatness is the LeBron James.
I was just thinking Kobe.
Yeah, Kobe Bryant's the world. Like, I think greatness is in all of us. It's just, it may not be coded in the slam dunk or the home run kind of thing, but I think that if we're following our path, and trust me, when you find that path and you're on that road, nothing's gonna shake you. No prize is gonna be won in that. Like, it just, to me, it's a deeper walk in the world than you will ever walk. That you will ever even come across. And I think that we have to get to push it. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying I arrive, I'm the Buddha, the Messiah that arrived, but I think that me staying true to who I am allow me to get in these spaces and continue to arise myself and just connect with even more people who are just feeding off of me, and I'm feeding off of them, and it just makes us better. Yeah. So I think I would encourage that. Let's be quiet. Let's turn the music down a little bit. Let's turn the TV off, and let's listen to that voice. It's a weird voice. Yeah. Yeah. And whatever you want to call it. You want to call it God divine. Some people call it consciousness. Around the school, use the term 0.0. Whatever we want to define it as, or have to put a label to make it clear. Just know that it's there, and it's entrusting, and you just need to go in that direction. Yeah, I'm not going. Yeah. Focus on what it is and not the label. Yeah. Don't you get me on the podcast when you do spirituality. Huh? When you start doing spirituality or not, get me back into this and we can get real deeper into this rabbit hole. I gotta make sure I'm ready for those conversations. But yeah. No, you should come back on and we can talk spirituality. I'm done. Let's do it. I didn't want anything to slow down me starting. So a lot of times I know I've been guilty. I gotta have this in place. I gotta have that in place. I gotta have it in place. And I was like, no, I'm getting restarted by myself. I got a phone. The podcast is on, period. So as I build and I grow, I'll start adding, because I need mics and stuff. And mics are super cheap, but I think we, not all mics are cheap. I'm saying you can get some I heard decent quality. Cost effective. Yeah. But it's not about that. I just didn't want to prolong it in any way. I need to get this right or that right. Because then it turns to excuses. Yes, and thank you for that, because I deal with a lot of young filmmakers that all the time. They always say, I gotta get this lens, or I gotta get this camera equipment and do this and do that, and they all have all these gadgets. You remember the days when I used to play basketball and that, and people used to get Jordans and one headbands, and you doing that, and you come out and think you trash. Right. And you bobos and stuff. Even with working out, it's you I'm gonna start working out, so you can buy all these shoes, all that gear, and then you work out for a week and you don't do it. And you throw it away. Yeah. Just go to the gym with some raggedy clothes on, your raggedy shoes, and once you get in the habit, then you start investing. But you doing all this bullshit in the beginning, I'm not buying it. No, I agree. It's a cop out. It's in many ways a cop out. And no, you're right. I think we get too caught up in the flashiness. And just people dressing the part, just do it. Just do it. Exactly. Just get it going, because and for young people, and I deal with this a lot with Generation Zers or next generation after us. They're always looking for perfection the first time out. It's not gonna be perfect. Delusional. Look. You're going to mess up. It's going to be a lot of molding and perfecting. It's going to take maybe 5 films down the road to say, okay, I got my voice, I got my authentic thing. But you have to just start. And I'm not their demographic, and I wish I were more. But that's what's so important. Why, with the show and stuff, is talking about the process, because for some reason a lot of people just have the final product image in their mind with no kind of concept of what's going on. How do you get from, because that's point Z. How do you get from A to Z? Right. So wait a minute, I gotta do all this. They always think about the end goal, then working backwards. That's not how this works.
And that perfection thing, and just not seeing the raw, dirty, just the hard part, the gritty part. And so that's so important. We gotta expose. We gotta do a lot of BTS.
Yes.
We gotta expose.
No, you gave me a good
real
idea.
stuff.
Because I'm starting with funding for this last project right now, and I'm like, you know what? Let me show some behind the scenes stuff or not, because they need to see the element.
Yeah.
Especially if you're going to fiscal sponsors and asking for funds or whatnot, they need to see like the groundwork or whatnot from the backwards. So I'm gonna think in those ways.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. We'll finally close this out. Thank you for sharing your time with us and inspiring our listeners to redefine success for themselves. And thank you, listeners. If you're still here, remember to like, comment, and share this episode. Please leave a review. It's very helpful. And if you don't do anything else, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. That's the most helpful thing you can do. Thank you. And I will see you next week. Oh, before we close out, where can people find you?
I am on all the social media except TikTok. Just type in Adelin Gasana on all the platforms, even Instagram. Although my Instagram handle is DocuJourney Productions, which is my production company. DocuJourney Productions on Instagram and Adelin Gasana everywhere else.
And I will put that in the show notes.
Appreciate it.
So check the show notes if you want to grab that. And so I'll see you all next week. And we ask our guests to say the tagline, which is, we'll show you our definition of success if you show us yours.
You ever seen it? We'll show you our definition of success if you show me yours.
Yes. Yay, we did it. Thank you so much.